Right, there we are. We're officially on. Brooke Howard-Smith. Welcome to the Luke Farr Show, a show to motivate, educate, and inspire our next generation of leaders. Thank you, Conser, for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. That's a great takeoff. I like that. It's a good start. We're on our way.
He likes it. Early doors, yeah. Let's not, yeah. Anyhow, for the audience out there, just some context around you. I've obviously got this off the LinkedIn, but I am sure and positive it's accurate, but you'll jump in and correct me if I'm wrong. However, and I need to do a bit of a breath here because there's a lot to run through. Anyhow, co-founded the Futureverse Foundation, effectively driven to improve digital equity and decolonize the next internet. The Futureverse Foundation, which has a mission to invest in underrepresented artists, creatives, and communities in order to build more diverse, equitable, and inclusive spaces in both the real world and the metaverse. You're also the founder of Non-Fungible Lads and Fluff World. Fluff World effectively holds the record for the largest ever first-day volume on OpenSea and is considered to be one of the world's most successful NFT launches in history, generating over 40 million in sales in its first week alone. That is absolutely impressive. Non-Fungible Lads has since gone on to donate over $1 million USD to charities such as the Auckland City Mission, Sustainable Coastlines, as well as Ghanaian artists in the last 18 months. Once again, phenomenal. CEO founder, doesn't stop there, does it? CEO founder of Otterfish, an easy-to-use platform and aimed improving improving effectively communication and branded content. You are the CEO founder of We Are Tenzing, which is a groundbreaking triple bottom line company that's shifting the way exceptional New Zealanders are managed. You effectively provide a 360 service focused on social management and brand partnerships with over 130 brands and agencies in 2020 for clients with a combined following of over 16 million people. Once again, and I do want to touch on, because this is very pertinent to your very established career, but you had 11 years building 9 international companies in the skate industry, including one of the world's largest Senate, 14 million a year in turnover, while touring with the world's best athletes, including the likes of Tony Hawk, Arlo Eisenberg, and Matt Hoffman. You sit on multiple boards and are also an X Games finalist. Have I finished? No, I haven't. You're a serial entrepreneur. Obviously, what drives you? Wow, is it weird hearing that?
Well, it sounds like my mum wrote it. Is the worst part about it is it's a lot of that. Often you end up when you do speaking or hosting something, you end up kind of putting together a bio and trying to figure out what to put in there. It is a bit weird. It's a lot. I'm old. That's the first. If someone's wondering, that sounds like a lot. I just turned 50 this year, so if you look back, I was lucky enough to start Senate when I was around 17, 18 years old, or 18 years older, and so that was my first touch as an entrepreneur. And I a combination of ADHD and being surrounded by a lot of really talented people has meant that I've been able to kind of try a bunch of different stuff over the years.
So do you think without ADHD, you wouldn't have ultimately achieved all the success?
No, I probably would have had, you know what, I probably would have had one really good, strong, wonderful success and probably a much more settled and less stressful life. I mean, that Senate was it was just such an incredible opportunity. It was the start of the action sports revolution, and we built the biggest company in action sports at the time. And, we were 21 at the time, Arlo Eisenberg and myself. And most people would probably have seen the opportunity, taken advantage of it, and kind of set a really good platform. I was that at 21, and I was living at home with my parents by 30 again. I'd kind of, the point is that these all sound amazing, but many of them kind of have spikes and exciting moments and then challenges. And with Senate, we effectively blew the whole thing. It was an incredibly amazing opportunity that we eventually blew, but a great time. We had a good time.
Well, Senator, did you also start? What was it? I think it was. Was it someone? Kevin? England, New England.
England Clothing was the. So that's a great example. So I've got Senate, which is this. We had 50 plus staff. Like I said, we're turning over $14 million US a year, and on our way to we did 700,000 t-shirts in 1997. Then I went and started up another company at the same time. It's like it's not the world's greatest strategy on continued stable success, but there'll be a lot of people out there that are trying to find the space, like the space they excel in. What I've found is that those first 3 years is where I really excel in helping gather a group of talented humans, get them fired up about a mission, and then set them on their way. Where I don't excel is once that's happened, once we've got the fire in the bellies, being able to organize them and provide the stability that you need to build a long-lasting kind of enterprise. And so knowing your strengths and weaknesses, probably what I've learned over the years.
Yeah, 100% good insights there. And speaking of Senate, yeah, I used to love the wheels. And in fact, that's how powerful of a brand it is, because on all of my books at school, I would be doing the Senate logo. That's when, that's when you know you're onto a winner. I mean, hey, look, it didn't look that great, but nonetheless, that's when you know that you really live and breathe the brand, and you're doing really great work with that. So hats off to you, mate. Hey,
that's probably, I'll leave it to Arlo Eisenberg, was a genius there. And I've got another project with them now called Drug Receipts, DRX, which after 30 years, we got back together and we're reshaping the way that clothing is made or is designed, ordered, and manufactured now using technology, which is a really cool project out of the States. Check it out, Drug Receipts.
That's cool. Nice. Happy to look into that. And speaking of reshaping, that might also include your toe. Are we able to just look at your toe that might need some reshaping, but there's a bit of a story there. So we'll just get your toe on and then we can talk. Yeah, if you don't mind.
Just because I don't
feature now, he's not going to feature the toe.
I'm going to do it. I don't want to just end up on the bad side of onlyfeet.com. You need to give context to this. You need to give context because firstly, it's lucky I'm wearing my slides today, but I've got the ugliest toe. This is probably going to ruin all of your views.
No, this will increase the views. So, ladies and gentlemen, this toe here was effectively ran over by my brother at the rollerblading nationals at Oriental Markets many moons ago. I think it was 95, maybe. But anyway,
something like that. It'd be mid 90s when rollerblading was kind of on its way to its zenith. And I'd come back. I might have been judging or something. I was standing on the sidelines, and the toe was already. I crushed that skiing when I was young, and it was already in bad shape. But your brother took it out, and kind of like it's just another moment in its awful history. That show, but this toe, by the way, presented a show on Juice TV for a while called The Claw. It was great. So
and I'm not sure if him running over your toe had any form of
ongoing effect.
Winning because he won that year actually.
Oh wow!
I'm not sure if you're toed anything, but he finally bet Tim Van Webb. Do you remember? I'm not sure if you remember Tim Van Webb, that signature move, disaster, alley-oop, topside porn star. I would imagine.
Look at you. You know your skate tricks there, buddy. So
sorry, true. I missed it. Sorry to interrupt. True. No, it's true spin. Yeah, it was disaster, true spin, alley-oop, topside porn star. I remember it vividly. On that down rail, it was hard to achieve.
Oh, it is. Mate, this is fantastic. Where did you go? I mean, there's a lot of people. It's funny now that the 90s is going through such a revival, and we're all kind of despair that we threw away so many pairs of cargo pants and bucket hats. But now it's going through a revival. There's been this huge surge in rollerblading in the States and Europe, and it's very great. Yeah, and that's great. There's a lot of people that kind of come out of the woodwork. It's been a lot of fun, and so I'm actually going there. I'm going to a big competition next week in LA, specifically to go and kind of do a reunion. We had a big movie, kind of the biggest movie in that era, called The Hoax 2, which was a huge. I remember that.
Yeah, that was massive.
So we're doing a reunion panel for that in Santa Ana in about 10 days time, and first time we're all getting together to talk about it in front of a crowd, and so it should be a lot of fun.
That's going to be awesome. Who's going to be down there? Dustin Latimer, John Julio.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really wondering how John's throwing the competition, and so I'm wondering how we're getting very niche now if we're talking about inspiring the next leaders of tomorrow. And by the way, if you want to inspire the next leader, do not follow my pathway in the 20s. I was like a train wreck on a middle of a sinking ship. That's
Well, it
right.
is hilarious because you said you had a time limit, but yet I've just wasted about 10 minutes talking about rollerblading. However,
right.
I've got these questions in front of me that are all about AI and tech, which
Let's
initially you were
get
like,
into
hey, I'll come on the show to talk about Otterfish. Now we'll talk about Senate for a bit. Anyway, we'll cut to it. But anyway, very curious though, from your transition from extreme sports into tech, Brooke, was that like a natural transition of, hey, look, these markets are hot, or did you just simply have enough of the extreme sport industry?
I'd gotten injured at the 96 X Games, and 96, 97. I was just not great. I mean, I was already falling away by then, and so I'd started to host and present. But the underlying kind of theme, TV presenting was obviously the next easiest job after being, a professional skater. There's very few jobs that are as easy as that and as much fun. But presenting was pretty easy, but came pretty easily to me. And so that started my love affair with content, understanding content or wanting to get a sense of content. And the predominant theme since then has been content and how content can drive community and how community can affect change. And then the last part of that puzzle in the last, since I kind of got fired by TV3, is how I didn't really get fired. I like to make that up, but
I appreciate your transparency.
They stopped putting me in shows, which is kind of like firing you, but not telling you. But
yeah, well, I guess if you're a TV presenter, I mean, that's your role, right? So if you're not presenting shows, I mean, what are you going to be doing? You won't be showing up, will you?
But what I'd also seen in that later stage, so we got content and we knew it was driving community, growing community, and it was affecting change. And those observations were, in 2011, I was lucky enough to put together the Rise Up Christchurch telethon that raised, about $2.7 million for Christchurch, but more importantly, gave New Zealand this kind of single event where all three networks, Māori TV, MediaWorks, TV3, and TVNZ, all got together, and we got, this event on. And you could see how important the content was in driving the community, relaying some pretty amazing messages. We had Mike McRoberts from the centre of Christchurch for the first time showing New Zealand what this devastation was and really relaying that. And then that change was amazing, got hooked on that, built Comedy for Cure Kids for the next few years with TV3. And we had the Flight of the Conchords building that amazing song, Feel Inside, which, raised fastest selling song in New Zealand history, faster than the Beatles, raised a bunch of money. And there's an incredible story about that. I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent, but it does illustrate the sense that content builds community, community affects change, and then how technology can enable that as well. But in 2012, Conchords built this amazing song. We lasso everyone, and Brooke Fraser, et cetera, Dave Dobbin. And we raised about $500,000 with Cure Kids there. And they were able to give that to two amazing scientists and researchers in Lincoln and Otago University, both Kiwis. Both have been trying to tackle a disease called late infantile Batten disease. And there's this lovely lady named Lisa Archer and her daughter Katie who had Batten disease, and it's terminal. Usually by about 8 or 10, the kids pass away. And thousands of kids a year died from Batten disease around the world, but not enough for people's pharmaceutical companies to they can't make enough money to find, they don't want to research and find a cure, right? It's too expensive. So we give these guys that have been operating on the smell of an oily rag a couple $100,000. We don't. Cure Kids, amazing Cure Kids does. And 14 months later, we think it's going to be decades. 14 months later, I get this call Jermaine and Brett and go, shit, they're on a pathway to a cure. They think they're on a pathway. And then 10 years later, last year, little Katie Archer has now died. She's passed away. But she inspired this mission and this Kiwi kind of momentum. I get to call Lisa Archer, her mum, last year. Kiwis have found a cure. So
wow.
Incredible, like mind-blowing. Something as trivial and as Brett and Jermaine getting into a recording studio and calling some people up and people turning up, recording a song, something that felt as kind of simple as someone donating $3 or $10 back in 2012, and that leading to a legacy for little Katie Archer and for Lisa Archer, and Kiwis curing a disease is mind-blowing.
That is, it's absolutely commendable just to come to simply think of two artists, musicians in a studio that then now transitions into saving not only that first life, but many, many lives thereafter. I mean, that's absolutely incredible. Yeah.
It's really amazing, but at the same time, it was really challenging for me. So we made about $500,000 in money on the back of Kiwis texting and raising money on the night during the telethon. But the song went viral, tens of millions of plays around the world, and we were unable to monetize that. And in fact, the first 3 viral videos were uploaded by people who just taped it off the TV and threw it up before we'd even finished the show. And they went viral because Flight of the Conchords is so fucking amazing. And so that set a fire in my belly because there's a missing piece here. The creators of content weren't able to monetize. Cure Kids had to suddenly now put like a note on there to get people to donate. And only 1 in 100 people who saw this thing and were moved by this thing would donate. And so from there, I understood that we needed a transformation in technology that moved the content creators from just people that created the content to people that owned it and were able to monetize it. And so that set the pathway. I started We Are Tenzing, which now manages, actually more than that, around 300. We work with around 300 of New Zealand's best content creators. People, you have to be purposeful. So when people apply to us, we have to identify that they've got a following of people and that they're using that following to achieve a goal. So someone like Ruby Tui, we look after Jazz Thornton, Young New Zealander of the Year, Chanel, Young New Zealander of the Year, Ruby Tui, nominated New Zealand, all of these amazing people. And our job has been to try to help them really genuinely both monetize their content, but also start moving the dial on this stuff. And I'm going through how it gets to NFTs. How does it get to this fucking thing?
Yeah, well, it's great. I mean, this is a very easy job for me, Brooke. I don't actually need to ask any questions. You're just literally going to run through everything. And I'll politely sit here and just nod my head. Oh,
it's a really weird, it's a strange thing to get from like the X Games to artificial intelligence. But NFTs in 2020. So I got this note in 2020 from a guy that invested in We Are Tenzing and who's really passionate about the same causes, saying we need to look into NFTs. It looks like this is what we've been looking for. You can take content, you can wrap a contract around it, and you can make that content smart. And so we looked into it and we formed Non-Fungible Labs. And as you mentioned, the next year was an insane ride. We fastest growing company. It and its sister company, Altered State Machine, are probably the fastest growing companies in New Zealand history. Both of them got to around $300 million in under 18 months. Both purchased by Futureverse, which was a roll-up just about a month and a half ago. And an incredible story about really amazing Kiwis doing like revolutionary shit. We work now with FIFA, Muhammad Ali's estate, some of the biggest brands in the world, and helping bring their technology. And this is all out of 17 South Street and just near Karangahope Road.
Right. And Brooke, did you drive this NFT?
Yeah, I founded Non-Fungible Labs when we looked into this next part. Web 1. This is an interesting definition. The Web 1 is the nascent internet, where you'll be old enough to remember you used to go to a website and you could just read the website. That was it. That was the only functionality. You could see their phone number, their address, and a little bit about them.
Thanks for the compliment, by the way.
Yeah, Web 2, well, if you're at the Oriental markets. Web 2 was the advent, someone invented the ability to comment, and then people suddenly realized that comments could turn into threads, and now you've got social media. Web 2 was the ability to read. I'll do it this way. Web 2 was the ability to read and write, right? So you could not just read, but now you could contribute to the internet. Everyday people, and what that saw was the rise of the creator economy, and people like How to Dad, who we also manage, were able to prove that they were better at making content than TV networks. And they grew bigger followings in TV3, and he moved from working on Jono and Ben onto making his own content, right? That was Web 2. And the challenge that I illustrated before was that it's such an absolute cluster trying to get money. Like, it's this weird dance to bring brands, like, as you know, you've got a podcast, like the nature of, like, we've got to convince brands that this podcast is going to get viewers, and then when it gets viewers, then we can go back. Now, in a perfect world, every viewer would be just paying with their attention, watching. There would be a simple system where they are able to, at the end of the podcast, leave a tip, or even better, if your podcast went viral, say something like this one is obviously going to go viral, and other people share it, and it's not even on your YouTube platform, wherever it goes, it's collecting revenue for you.
Right, gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, Brooke, just a quick segue, but the only thing going viral, mate, is that toe of yours.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's probably viral. Fungal, I think, is what they call it. It's going fungal. It's different than viral.
But no, that makes sense. Thank you for that explanation. No, that does that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Hey, you're juggling so many projects at the moment. I mean, what's your time? Do you have a time management hack or trick to get the most out of your day? I mean, besides not working Fridays and shutting off your calendar, which I found out. But how are you juggling so many different things? Is there anything that comes to mind where you're like, boom, this really helps?
So, well, the first thing is you're making sure that there is at least a day of your week where you are not just crowding your entire day with meetings after meetings, and just, because you need that clarity. You need time to actually sit and think. Technology is very important, and remind me of this in a second when we go back to AI, because AI is going to do this all for you. It's going to be your assistant. It's everything. But I do work heavily on Slack. I've got my Slack is amazing because you've got a single channel, and I can look at each of the companies, and people can immediately reach me. People on the team would be able to get me in under a couple of minutes on Slack. And if you look at Futureverse has around 300 team members, yet any one of them could reach me immediately on Slack. And so that's the first part. The second part is this. I've also, like I said before, identified what my strengths are. And I stepped back from, say, We Are Tenzing, and I thought I was such a genius CEO, and I really wanted that role as CEO. And so many people watching this will think that is an aspiration, like that's your pinnacle. Well, most people aren't made to be a CEO, and I certainly aren't. I'm not made to be a CEO.
Why do you think that is?
Well, CEOs, so the first thing when people say, I want to be a CEO, I ask them why and what their core skills are. And to me, a CEO, if you use the Tour de France metaphor, the CEO is the expert mechanic. They've gone and selected all of their team members to hit the best hill rider, the best sprinter, the best person. They've got all these key components, and their job is just to make sure that they are ready for that hill, ready for the sprint. And so, if you're okay, if you're okay with being that mechanic, if you want to be the person that can kind of like make sure that everyone's going, then you're probably going to be a really strong, management CEO.
What do you think makes a good CEO?
What's that?
What do you think makes a good CEO?
Well, that ability to identify talent, right? So you can identify talent and your ability to help them excel. So you've got the two components to being a CEO, that talent identification, and then the care and want for them to excel, right? So, the strong CEOs that I know, I'm lucky enough, I spend a lot of time, or as much time as I can, with people like Don Braid, who's Mainfreight, he's one CEO, I think, of the decade. He's a really empathetic guy. He is a really good human that really cares about his team members. And he's part of the heart of that company. The second part is leadership. So you've got this empathy, talent identification, the empathy to make sure that they want to excel. And the second part is, can you communicate a plan? And often someone like me that has like a high energy, the plan is sitting in my head, but I found, and what I learned with We Are Tenzing and some of the other projects, is people want a stable, clear, communicated plan. I'm not the guy to deliver that. I will energize them, come in, fire them up. But a lot of the time, those core components, people don't understand that. That's what I think makes a really good CEO. So I'm an evangelist founder.
I find that interesting, Brooke, because you are such a well-articulated, great communicator. So what is that roadblock of you not being able to deliver a clear, concise plan?
Because I just, a lack of patience, probably patience and organization. But again, it doesn't need to be me. CEO, there are a whole bunch of metrics or terms that become, vanity in business, head count or even turnover, things that I've even kind of dropped in this thing. And CEO is a vanity title. It's a title that, your parents are proud of. And that a lot of that drives me. I've got approval seeking disorder with my dad, who is a brilliant business person. And so, I wanted to be a CEO because I thought that would kind of pick a box. It's pretty hard to get your dad to be proud that if you're an evangelist founder, but the more we can get ourselves into positions that make us, that fit better with our resting nature and put pride aside, the better.
Yeah, ultimately, you're really surmising there to let your ego get out of the way and focus on your natural ability, right?
Yeah, and if you can sell yourself that evangelist founder is a better term for you, and you can find a really strong seat, maybe you don't want to give someone the CEO, but you say, listen, I'm an evangelist founder. I've got this amazing COO who's a bit more inwards facing and make sure the team is happy. Then you can also call yourself a CEO then, but as long as you don't try to take on those inwards facing roles of, providing clear, if you don't have that in you to provide clear, concise leadership, great talent identification, if you're not patient enough to spend 30% of your time hiring, which is like, what a good COO or CEO should be focused so much time on, like making sure your HR is in place. If you don't have that in you, no patience, then don't do it.
Sure, good insights. Hey, so you built a cyclone-proof house for a family in Fiji on the occasion, Brooke, for your 40th birthday, which God knows how long ago that was now, but we don't need to get into that. But that was under. Oh, congratulations! He's reached the halfway mark. Very good. That was effectively under Habitat for Humanity International. How did that make you feel? Obviously, giving back, and
Yeah, I had this idea in coming into the 40th that I wanted to, and by then, this is 2000, that was 2012, and I just come off of the back of this amazing year of purposeful year, really understanding. We just done 2011, we did Rise of Christchurch, 2012, we did Comedy for Cure Kids with Concords, and so it felt like the right thing to do was, like, instead of having kind of like a big blowout, I said to a bunch of my friends, let's go to Fiji. Peter Drysdale, who really should be knighted, has built like hundreds of these amazing houses there and gives them to homeless people and people that are living in the slums. And so we went there. As it happened, almost no one turned up. It was me and five amazing women, and Murray and me.
One being your wife, by the way, right?
One being my amazing wife. And we turned up, and they had something against power tools on this website, on this work site. And so we built this thing.
They weren't a fan of Makita?
Over 5 days, I don't know what it was, over 5 days, we built this cyclone-proof thing. And cyclone-proof, by the way, is a term they use for ones that we didn't build. I was surprised to hear, last year as I came into my 50th, someone had went by and visited this thing as a favor for me. And it's still standing in the little family. It was so funny. Every time we wanted to quit, it was 32 degrees, and they're sitting on a silver tin roof, hand putting in the screws. It was such an ass. And every time you wanted to quit, they knew what they're doing. They'd send a little family by with the baby, and they'd come and check in on you, and you go, Jesus,
that is just pulling on the heartstrings. I thought you were going to say they'd just come on by and drop a case of Fiji bitter.
Wouldn't that be great? No, there was definitely not enough booze involved. I tell you, I don't know if this is for 50. I got this call. These people reached out from Techo, which is a similar organization in South America, and I've always wanted to go to Costa Rica. And so I took Amber, poor bloody Amber, who's like just wanting, one nice trip, although Costa Rica is amazing. And we put in a safe water system for this village in Alto San Blas near San Jose. And they were so sweet. And this little old man whose wife was terminal in hospital with like complications from drinking unsafe water. She literally was about to die at the time, and we were putting it in so that the rest of his family could, go through and have clean water, drinking water. And he made us lunch. It was lovely. And then we got Giardia. And so our whole year, my poor wife is still pretty sick with it. Giardia is not great, by the way, guys.
No, and allegedly it lingers for a long time, right? Like it has the worst ramifications for your gut health. It's something to do with the microbiome, but it takes a while to get out, right?
Yeah. That's exactly right. So apparently, and this is the logic: if you are building a safe drinking water system, don't drink the water. He cooked. I don't know what happened. Anyways, I'm so sorry, Alto San Blas. But that does bring it into effect. Like it brings it into sharp relief that's what we were doing there, stopping other people from getting Giardia. So hopefully we're hoping we're the last people to get Giardia at Alto San Blas.
Jeez, I've got so many. We could take this on a whole different.
Yeah, I'm good for time. Don't rush this.
Okay, right, but we are going to literally segue from Giardia to AI. But in simple terms, Brooke, just run us through what is artificial intelligence.
Yeah, so artificial intelligence is the process of machines learning processes that make it human-like, that replicate intelligence. And so there are different processes, and one of them is machine learning. And I'm not the expert that's going to be able to give you the define. What about this? Why don't you put a definition up there? I should learn the definition.
Why don't I use AI? Why don't I use ChatGPT right now? What is that?
Let's go with ChatGPT right now.
Okay, I will. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw my post about GPT's accuracy, but you were talking about my bio before, and I kind of fit in this interesting realm where I'm kind of, there's a bit online about me, but not because I'm like a J to Z grade celebrity. And GPT,
mate, you're an A grade celebrity in the rollerblading community. In fact, the only thing I did was went to YouTube and looked up. I just typed in old Brooke Howard-Smith rollerblading X game videos.
Well, here's the thing, right? So GPT, we can get into how it's built, but it's got a snapshot of the whole internet whilst you're getting this definition up and running from 2017. And so I was interested in how accurate, because obviously one of the crazy quirks of GPT is that it quote unquote lies. It doesn't lie, but the way it's built is it's a large language model, and it constructs its answer word by word based on probability, the algorithms, and its own kind of neural network.
I thought its accuracy was quite high. So you're saying it's not?
It depends on subject matter, but what makes GPT so interesting as an experiment in its current form, there are plenty of ways that it's being improved right now, but in its current form, is that it will completely lie to cover a knowledge gap. So if you ask it what X Games, or if you ask it my bio, it says that I won the X Games, my medal in London, and it sounds very convincing, but not obviously, but it certainly wasn't in London. In fact, I've never been to the X Games in London. It guessed a completely wrong.
I don't think X Games even is in London.
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably had one since I quit, but that's the thing, is on broader stuff like what is artificial intelligence, it's really strong. But if you are researching, like, I don't know, specific historical details, you need significant research to make sure that it's hitting the right notes. So there are people that are solving that, because it's able to now, you can build, there are plugins that allow it to crawl the web, and kind of, there's pages and pages, and Wikipedia has my birthday right on it, but it got my birthday wrong. Somehow it's got things like a little bit iffy. So it shows you, listen, we're in the very early stages, and
right. Okay,
I'm
so
about,
fundamentally, right now, it is lying on certain subjects. Back to the definition, Brooke, of artificial intelligence, you were actually bang on the money. So here's what it states. The theory and development of computer systems able to perform tasks normally requiring human intelligence, such as visual perception, speech recognition, decision-making, and translation between languages.
I'll learn that so I can bang that out next time.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, it's the first time I've asked a guest a question. I've had to Google the answer, but I can get used to this. This is great. Yeah.
Well, listen, if there's any semblance of success in my life, it's because I'll throw myself headlong into new things. And artificial intelligence was really new for me 2021. I knew very little about it. And the only reason I started to learn about it was because I invested in our sister company, Altered State Machine, which is this incredible group of Kiwis who've defined their mission as democratizing artificial intelligence, making sure that we as humans, that, you know, it's affecting every day of our lives now, and it's about to become the largest effect on our lives. It will dominate our lives in the next 5 years onwards. It may end our lives in the next 5 years, to be honest. And so us understanding what that means, what it is, what that means for us, and how we can adjust our own behavior to make sure that our lives are improved and not our life quality is not reduced by artificial intelligence is really important.
I've got to jump in there. That is very pertinent. And so, how is the virtual world going to combine with the real world in the future? I mean, what's it going to look like exactly?
Well, I mean, then now we're talking about another kind of trigger word, which is, you know, metaverse is a trigger word, both popularized, although not invented certainly, but in the mainstream popularized by Zuckerberg, when he tried to kind of take the word, which was already a pretty strong word in technology circles, and renamed, you know, Facebook and Instagram Meta. But the metaverse is a catch-all term for the combination of these exponential era technologies. I'm going to back up a little bit.
AI, VR, and augmented AR. Oh, sorry, AR, AI, and what's it? VR. AI.
Well, so if you look at the last 20-something years, 30 years, we've been living in the information era. This was the collection of every bit of human knowledge through the internet, and collection and connection of human knowledge is the information era. And
nice alliteration there.
Yeah, I just made that up. So that sense, that was a really, but now, you know, when we look back, and this is always the way with any historical stuff, it feels like such a zigzag when we're going forward. But when we look back, there is going to be a direct line. That collection and connection of human knowledge over the last 30 years formed the foundation for, you know, the global internet. And that was the information era. 2023 has signaled clearly the beginning of the exponential age. And one of the most important parts of that, you know, you've got the layering of these different technologies. So the hyperconnectivity. So this is Internet of Things, high-speed connectivity. Blockchain, which is about ownership, and that's debatable, but I'll always put that in there. Extended reality, that's augmented reality, virtual reality, anything that extends on our current perception. Artificial intelligence, which is, you know, significant. So there are about another 3 or 4 more minor things in there, but those 4 are, and those things, by the way, include incredible stuff like biotechnologies and things like that, which people should also look into because they're moving at rapid paces. But those 4 things layered together form the start of the exponential age. When we collected that in the human knowledge, and this is the incredible thing, and please find someone that's an actual expert on this, because what they did at GPT, when they took a large language model, which is basically taking a snapshot of the internet, trillions of words in sequence, relating to images, relating to all sorts of, you know, sources, and you dump them into a neural network, which is basically, and quite a simple version of a human brain. They designed a lot of these neural networks to play games, like initially chess, and then eventually things like Go. And if you can, watch the documentary on Go on Netflix, it's mind-blowing. But these things were designed to learn, to look at a system and then learn it and then, you know, excel at it. Here's the thing not many people know about GPT. They had no real idea what would happen. They had some outcomes lined up, but their 280 odd page paper that they released recently, which looked at September onwards, this study period, and it's called Glimpses of AGI. Sparks of AGI, sparks of artificial general intelligence. They are so shocked and surprised at what the neural network has done and is doing with this information. It's quite incredible. But when we look back, of course, and if we get to look back, if we survive, it looks like we planned this. We spent 30 years collecting all knowledge. We built neural networks that were big enough. Then we threw all the information in, and then suddenly this huge spike in human productivity, which is now the exponential age, which is, we'll look like geniuses or we'll be dead.
Absolutely crazy. And on that fun fact, 54% of the experts that you're talking about said that they expect by 2040, the metaverse will be a much more refined and truly fully immersive, well-functioning aspect of daily life for 500 million or more people globally. However, 46%, so it's pretty much 50-50, man, at this stage, 46% said that they expect by 2040 the metaverse will not be a much more refined and truly fully immersive, well-functioning aspect of daily life for 500 million people. I mean, what's your take on that? And also, quick segue, Elon Musk, Wozniak, and other tech leaders did sign a petition to actually halt further AI developments.
Yeah, I think what
was the concern in that, do you think?
Yeah, so that's a really complex. Let's start with this. Should we halt what they're asking for there was specifically that GPT-4 and beyond research into large, and you can calculate these things because the power of these networks is basically what you're putting into them and their processing power, right? So again, smarter people would be able to explain it better, but they're effectively saying, listen, we can continue to develop AI in small, narrow AI, not so powerful AI that can do your taxes, for example, but the ability to go beyond GPT-4 into what will probably be artificial general intelligence and getting us closer to what's called the singularity. They're wanting to halt that, and probably.
Are you worried at all in the next 30 years?
Oh yeah, I think everyone is. I'm sitting on white.
They're worried by us being taken over by robots, essentially, aren't they?
Maybe. This is a bit name droppy, and that's the kind of person I am. I'm sitting on Waiheke. I've got this great spot on Waiheke. And about 10 years ago, I was lucky enough to look after Sam Altman, he came and stayed, hung out at the beach. It's really awesome. He's a massive fan of Waiheke, and he's the guy that started all this. He's the CEO at OpenAI, and he's brilliant. And no one at OpenAI has signed this. 30,000 plus people have now signed that letter. 1,800 professors and AI experts have signed it, recognized professors. And so everyone, they're very concerned. And even Sam Altman is concerned. You can watch his podcast with Lex Friedman, and he'll tell you he's like genuinely concerned. His belief is that the best way to get benevolent AGI, we know AGI is coming. Nothing can stop it. There will be artificial intelligence that outperforms humans in every aspect. By the way, it outperforms us in a myriad of aspects already. But there will be a general AI that can outperform humans at every aspect, certainly within our lifetime, and most people now predict by 2030. So that's the first thing.
I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I don't see how, even with the vast amount of technology, research, information input into a robot, that a robot could outperform you or I in the bedroom. It's just not a.
I was wondering where you're going with that. I mean,
it is not a possibility. We've got great touch. There's certain things a robot just will not be able to do, Brooke.
I would suggest, arguably, because as we found with the internet and porn driving it, it'll be one of the first areas that gets significant investment. I saw a meme the other day that showed Terminator versus these kind of sex robots, and the sex robots are definitely what kills us. It's not the Terminator. It's definitely the sex robots. But so what they're saying what they're seeing, and again, I'm paraphrasing and stealing other people's information here, but when you
there's a trend emerging here, Brooke. It seems like you're very, very good at that.
when you marker up most human performance, we're talking about intelligence performance here, not physical, because Boston, you've got Boston Robotics that are moving as fast as they can, and they're making good progress, but that's the robotics side, and I don't really have a lot of understanding on what the hindrances are in robotics. But in terms of artificial intelligence, when you marker up our core abilities, GPT-4 scores like a 5 to 7 on a lot of them and a 10 out of 10 on some of them. But when you give it tools like humans have tools, it scores like 10 out of 10 on 7 out of 10 of them. And the only debate now from here to AGI and singularity is it conscious? Is it affected? Can it be affected by morality? How will it interact with us, its creators? And how do we build a world where we can live harmoniously with what will be our very first time, or maybe our very first time, living in a world harmoniously with a superior entity, with an alien life form that is much smarter than us. And this is my thing that worries people. So the singularity is the point where AGI, or where artificial intelligence surpasses our abilities. And we're oversimplifying this. But at that point in time, our brains can't comprehend the speed at which it would increase its intelligence. But, for all we know, it could be as intelligent as people at 12 o'clock on Wednesday, the 15th of December. And it might be 200 times more intelligent by 12:05, and by 2:30 it might be 200 million times more intelligent. We just don't have an understanding of what that curve looks like, and nor will we ever.
Absolutely crazy. I mean, we've all heard of Baxter, the robot, right, which has been implemented in warehousing, logistics, and industrial applications. But is there currently right now a robot, like a household robot, for example, that could go into your fridge, collate a few ingredients, get the pan out, start cooking? Is there robots that can?
Yeah, we're going to an area I know nothing about beyond just seeing stuff on social media. There's a whole bunch of robotics research. Obviously, it's a huge growth area, and the ability to kind of replicate human movement. But yeah, there'll be people that could definitely kind of dive more into that. I've been so deep in understanding, trying to understand what the next 5 years will look like in a world where, tasks that took me and team members like 3 days are now taking an hour and a half, because you task GPT to, do this. And I don't know if you've used Midjourney or Dream Studio or any of the, ability to create content. Take a look at Runway Gen 2, which is video. As creators, this is just, it's not a small shift. This is as big as the Industrial Revolution. And at the moment, most of us work as, home-based loomers, like weavers, and the looms have just been invented. And we can either throw it. Yeah. Well, actually, I'll tell you, he says.
You're just doing a play on boomers, the loomers.
With the loomers.
Quite like that. And I bet you just made that up again. You could see you're an innovator.
An inventonator.
Brooke, can you just hold there for literally 2 seconds? Like, if you don't mind, I'm just going to the loo. Is that okay?
Just doing a pee. I've out talked you for peas. Oh. Amber, I'm on a break, so you can make noise if you want. Just peeing. He's peeing.
Oh, that's so rude. Sorry about that. I was busting.
No shit. It's actually
Joe Rogan. Like, Joe Rogan can get away with doing that. A show like mine that scratches the surface with an audience in fucking Invercargill and Chatham Islands, I really can't get away with that.
it's not all that rude. It's at least the third least rude way to do that. There are two definitely more ruder ways to go to the bathroom.
I'm glad you've taken that, because I had a guest on who is one of the most high-profile neuroscientists out of Harvard University, Dr. Srini Pillai. This was about a year ago. I did the exact same thing. I said, Dr. Srini Pillai, I'm so sorry, I'm busting. Do you mind if He did not take that well at all.
Really?
Very awkward. It was toward the end of the interview. It was probably about 40 minutes in, but he did not like that at all. So there we are, just showcasing the difference in a human.
So potentially Srini Pillai is more of a Gatorade bottle kind of goer. Like that's, and you know what? I respect the hell out of him for that, because you wouldn't think a neuroscientist is going to opt for the Gatorade bottle, but he obviously did. The problem always is, and he sounds more capable than me, there's always a little bit more pee than there is Gatorade bottle. There's always like 14 mil extra and you're like, wait a second, I just drank this bottle of Gatorade. How can there be more? That doesn't make any sense.
You do, Brooke, seem to know a lot about this.
Yeah, shit, yeah. I once on a tour bus, we did this. Like someone was in the toilet, or we'd put stuff in the toilet, and we were on a tour bus. This is the hoax too, that show that movie I was telling you about. And a lovely guy, Michael Ballack, was sitting at the back of the bus with the window open. And I think I might have been driving. And I peed into the bottle and then just tipped it out the window, and it went right down the back and straight into the window and into his face.
Oh, that's awesome. That is so good. Correct me if I'm wrong. You were renowned for was it your signature move, the fish brain or the top sole? I remember you being.
I invented the Royale, which is a big move there. The Royale. I used to do a lot of top soles though. That was kind of my go-to move. Look, you're doing it again. Hang
on a minute. How could you invent the Royale? Like everyone was doing. Royale is just literally 2 feet on a rail. You're saying
that's not true. That's not true.
Sorry, and you slightly tweak it, and there's
your boot. No, you're sliding on your boot as opposed to the weight's on your boot, not your frame. And
yeah, but there's a backside Royale and a frontside Royale.
That's right. We're losing viewers as we go here, because the rollerbladers that are watching are like, listen, Luke, go and look at a Royale, and the people that aren't rollerblading going, what the fuck? Get back to the robots killing us. I want to know what day we're going to die.
Anyway, that's a good point. But I just want to say, quick segue, but I was very renowned for the topside Montreal. You remember that one?
Yeah. That's great. Jeez, listen, this is fantastic. I've got this terror inside me that they're going to ask me to skate when I go to the States. I haven't skated in 20 years, and or not 20, but close to about 18 years. And so I'm pretty I was bad back in those days, but I'm pretty hopeless now. So we'll see.
Very good. Hey, let's talk about Autofish a little bit. It's essentially a software that allows anyone to easily create and test dozens of ads. I mean, how does that platform differentiate, Brooke, from other players in the market?
It's interesting. So that's what Google will do, and potentially we may need to look for that old page. But Autofish, I started it out as a testing platform, and then we pivoted about a year ago. And so we moved it into content proposal and approval for influencers. So the old testing content, and this is something that most entrepreneurs, if you're out there, you'll need to know when you do not have product market fit. So we put a lot of money, about $1 million, maybe more, into the original software. And I had a great team. I still have a great team. And I love the team, but I was aware that the product market fit wasn't there. We weren't able to get people excited about this, even though I think it was a tool that could save them money and was good and should exist out there. And in fact, I saw someone's doing it now, so maybe we just didn't have the gumption. But I pivoted at this to take care of some big pain points we had Tenzing about a year ago. And so now it's for content creators to effectively propose, say they get my wife, Amber, who's got a great following, Amber Peebles, check her out, say Nespresso gives her a brief.
You're doing it because she's just to the 2 meters away from you right now.
I always do that anyway.
Getting some kudos points, aren't you?
She is amazing. But so we got So Amber gets a brief from Nespresso. They
Amber
can
Peebles,
upload it.
by the way, people.
Amber Peebles, check it out. So she gets a brief from Nespresso. And the biggest thing, at the moment is these creator economy. There's just an ask with the communication, dozens of emails usually, uploading via Dropbox and then Google Drives and all this bullshit. So we created a bit of software. It's all in one place, and you can kind of chat using like a chat functionality with each other. They upload a brief. AI reads the brief, throws out some great content ideas. Everyone, you adjust them, they approve them, then you can create the content, they can approve it, and it's done. It's practical, foundational for the work that we do at We Are Tenzing. And we are hoping that, the millions of content creators out there also need this. So it's specialist if you're a brand or an agency that uses influencers or content creators, or if you're a content creator, it is an essential tool. You should definitely get it right now.
Here's the link. I'm just glad I got this interview out of you, Brooke, by being that quintessential angry keyboard warrior, defiant, abusive on the otter fish, and then you came in when I was like, is this taking away humanity? And then I just pivoted to, that was the strategy, and then I pivoted to, how about I get you on the show? You're like, sure. I was like, thanks.
I mean, it was a really strange technique.
I got you hook, line, and sinker. I mean, it's a weird way to go about getting a guest on the show,
It
right?
was. Hey, your toilet thing? I'm just about to match it with something great. Just got to make sure my fire's still going. So here we go. Guys, we're on Waiheke. For those of you watching this, the millions, now that this has gone not viral, but fungal, now that this has gone around the world, this is Waiheke Island, which is just an amazing place. I'll just show you. Look at the outlook down into the beautiful ocean there.
Getting back into his export, getting back into his hosting fee.
That's right. And you can see this. I'm a big fan of cooking on a fire. And so I got this fire kind of started this morning, but then this podcast has kind of interrupted my ability to put wood on. Now,
are you doing wood-fired pizzas for lunch or for dinner tonight?
No, well, this is not the pizza. I'll show you the pizza oven in a second, but this is is kind of like.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen, just a quick segue. We're whipped into MPV Cribs with Brooke Out Smith on hashtag Waiheke, hashtag Onihangi Bay.
So there we go. That's the pizza oven. We're not using that today. Today we're using, this is ASEA are an incredible company out of the South Island, Dunedin, and they make these incredible wood-fired fires.
Another great plug. I'm sure they have a website that we could insert here. I mean, this show here has had more plugs than the As Seen on TV show.
Yeah, more plugs than Shane Warne's hairstyle. Boom. Sorry, Shane Warne. But this has got these trays that go in there, and you can cook steak and stuff on them and do slow cook. It's amazing. So I've got to get that wood going. So sorry, guys, that's a little bit of a segue. And look at that.
It's great to
that bench top. Oops, it's rounding. It goes round that way.
That way. Smith is clearly a very private guy and very confidential. It's great. We've just had of his exterior.
Love kitchen.
Well, you can't not do the whole rest of the interior in the house. Here's the bedroom.
No, I can't do that. But
very good. Hey, look, we do need to wrap that up, but I do want to finish with a little bit of a caveat. Really, we have covered a lot, and the famous saying does go, Brooke. I mean, people don't exactly remember what you say; they remember how you made them feel. How have I made you feel over this past 60 minutes?
Well, awkward with the peeing thing. That's no. Very comfortable. I'm happy that we've turned this back to you, because I do take a lot of the. I'm like, look at me. No, listen, nostalgic.
Sorry to interrupt. That's what it's about. You're the guest. It's called the Luke Farr Show. It's the same with Joe Rogan. I mean, my job is just to ask questions and let the guests talk. You're the experienced one, and you distribute that knowledge, right?
Try very hard to never make it the same as Joe Rogan. That's my only piece of advice. But because
you're not a fan.
Listen, I am and I'm not. I mean,
he's heavily opinionated. I mean, look, I'm just glad I've had 4 guests. Yeah, insert another plug here, but I've had 4 of his guests on the show. Look, you can't love him or hate him. He does run the biggest podcast in the world and got bought out by Spotify for 100 million. Not bad.
He's a very smart guy. There are times where I feel like his interview style and the way that he there are times where he's not optimal. He's not, but yeah, I can't knock it because I don't do it. Like I'd love to be able to do what he does. And he's made an amazing life for himself. So, but I was only saying, I think you can be better, and this has been great.
Sure. Do you think he's too, no, it's interesting topic. Do you think he's too biased or?
Yeah, clearly. I don't think he has, there's probably things that he's missing that would make him a better interviewer. So I would love him to be a better skeptic, like definition skeptic, not conspiracy theory skeptic, but definition skeptic. Someone that actually that explores and genuinely, without confirmation bias, researches subjects and goes into it with this, so that he would do a better job.
You know what, I'm going to have to agree with that. I do wholeheartedly agree, and to the contrary of that, the way he does go into it, and he is a very vulnerable guy, and claims, look, I'm not the expert here, and asks fairly dumb questions because he hasn't done the research. But then the guest obviously comes in and then shares that knowledge, wisdom, and education. But you're right, it would be a far more comprehensive interview if he did do research. I mean, prior planning prevents piss poor performance, right? So, good point there.
Is that right? Oh, that's good. I like that saying. Yeah, this like I said, he's like what a guy. Like he's done incredible things, and I have done terrible jobs in the past that many times that would rank way below the great job that he does. But I'm just suggesting that there are certainly better interviewers out there. If you want to take, I'll tell you what he does. He highlights subjects, and you should look at the subjects. They're interesting. He's bringing them into view, and then I would find really strong interviews from really strong interviewers on those subjects. And most importantly, and this is the point, continually steal a man a conversation. So try to find opinions and positions that are contrary to your guest, and trying to find and trying to challenge them on some, like, again, you could have challenged me on that whole Gatorade bottle thing. No, it's always enough. Or you could have challenged me. No, you know what I'm saying. Anyways, listen, I'm rambling. Cut out
No, that's very good. I mean, look, I'm a lightweight interviewer, right? I keep it very objective. Look, I'm getting into the more, but look, you can only challenge someone or a guest on an interview stage if you know your shit. I don't really know my shit, so therefore I don't challenge.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because that is a stance that he and others have taken, is that like he's just hearing someone out. Well, the challenge, if you've got the largest platform on the planet in this particular space, is, I think for him, you need to do better. You've got the resources to be able to ask questions that if your guest says this is the truth, and you know that 100 million people are going to see that, and it's not the truth, it's not the objective truth, it's really important to be able to be prepared for that, and then to be able to challenge them on it. And then the second part is the ability to challenge your own narratives. Like,
I thought you were going to challenge me on the fact that I thought that you and I would make better lovers than a robot.
I did challenge you on that. I'll tell you what, I will challenge you on something. Any survey that says the metaverse won't exist by 2040 is designed and probably completed. Like, I haven't seen the survey, I haven't understood it, but the metaverse already, and this is the key, is define what the metaverse is. So the metaverse is increased hyperconnectivity that often uses extended reality and connected spaces. So we already live in the proto-metaverse or metaverse, depending on how you define it. The fact that your AirPoints card is gamified, AirPoints is gamified, connected to the internet, connected to a database, and that those are eventually going to start to connect into other applications that will make it more useful. It's not a moment, it never gets turned on. Like, there's no moment the metaverse gets turned on. The day that Air New Zealand, perhaps, and I'd like to point this out of my ass, the day that Air New Zealand uses an AR technology on the plane that is connected to your AirPoints card, that's a metaverse technology. And right now I can tell you that most of the Coachella's on right now, and Coachella has augmented reality and virtual reality integrations into the festival. It's already metaversal. And so everything is on a pathway to deeper connection, hyperconnectivity, more extended reality. Everything is going to become more owned, and that whether you believe that is on-chain or off-chain is debatable. And everything is going
to. So you're saying like it's a dynamic, open, and kind of interoperable space.
That is the definition of the metaverse.
Much like the internet, but in 3D. See, I sort of am framing a question. I just Googled that, but I was trying to keep a natural conversation.
That's right. It's not. And guys, AR and VR are only a tiny component of the metaverse. And the reason why it's always pushed out there is because it's such a huge change for us to be outside of our IRL kind of presence and having an avatar in a gamified situation. The first thing is everyone equates metaverse to games, right? Because of Ready Player One, which is kind of a metaverse environment. If you talk to any marketer, if you talk to anyone that understands where our society is kind of heading, everything is going to be gamified. So whether it's your shopping or, the gamification has already begun of everything, because that's how we drive attention. People are drawn towards this gamification. Instagram is gamified content. The likes and shares and comments, they're gamifying it, right? You do better content, you get more likes, shares, comments, etc. So every aspect of our life is getting deeper gamification. And so we are being drawn towards it's a frog in water with metaverse. The next thing, when everyone talks about NFTs and this and that, NFTs are a base technology that allow you to own content, and in anything that it resembles the metaverse, where you are looking to own your own data or your content, NFTs are going to be essential. So that's my last. I'm not going to die on the hill of NFTs, but that's why they're relevant. That's why you should probably learn more about smart contracts, Ethereum, etc., and why those things are really, really important.
Bloody great insights, Brooke. And one final thing before we go, you are 50, which you alluded to earlier, but I do want to say, what is your secret, man? Like either genetic, but you've got really great skin, I have to say.
A group of people.
You've got no frown line, and I'm 20 years, 15 years your junior. It's funny how you said, because I was at Oriental Markets, you put me in your age category, which is absolutely disgusting, by the way, because I'm a different generation.
I didn't put you at my age, but that was the early 90s, so you knew about the nascent internet, because that was actually in the early 90s when it was big born.
Anyway, you've got better skin than I do, and I just want to know the secret. That's all.
Well, I've got a group of friends in California. Actually, I'll see them when I get over there. And we coordinated with a couple of politicians, and there's these kids. We're like farming them in basements. And we tap an adrenal gland. And I've already said too much. I've got to go. That's a great ending to this, by the way.
It is, and what another great ending to this is, because I am trying to end it, but I was trying to segue and asking you a skincare related question, and then into our lovely sponsor, which is Autophagy Skincare. Oh, yeah. Which is before you jump in there, Brooke, which you are a great host and a great commentator. But Autophagy Skincare, just let me get this out. Autophagy Skincare is a great self-activating, lightweight moisturizer made up of pomegranate, grapeseed extract, and green tea, all grown from Brooke's backyard. It's non-greasy formula, replenishes.
We have all of those things here.
It's made from sustainable forest printed ink with vegetable ink, so that means it's better for the planet. Visit www.autophagyskincare.com, enter the code Senate Gatorade to get 10% off. But Brooke, thank you so much for coming on the show, my friend. It's been a pleasure. You've shared some great insights, and I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, myself as well. And thank you so much for bringing back all the memories of Oriental Markets and And thanks to the sponsors. Without the sponsors, the show doesn't happen. So I really appreciate that. I'm going to try that skincare. My wife would love me to start taking care of my skin. So that sounds like a great idea.
I'm going to
Thank you
send
so
some
much.
up with your skincare your way. You just have to provide your address. I mean, you've already shown me your whole property. So
Done. Okay, mate. See you later.
Thank you, Brooke. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Be safe out there, everyone. Bye.
See ya.